All right. So we'll continue our discussion from the previous class. I hope you can see the screen. Can somebody confirm?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So we have started discussing about convection diffusion problems, or in particular, we had started discussing about how to discretize convection diffusion problem using finite volume method. Okay, and let me quickly revise last day's discussion so that we can continue from there on. So if you consider the general conservation equation, we have four terms: the unsteady term, the convective term del dot rho u phi, then the diffusion term del dot gamma del phi, and then source term is. Okay. So out of these terms we had previously discussed before the midsem and last few weeks how to discretize the diffusion term. Okay. The main problem there was to, or the main uh, objective there was to find the interface values of the derivatives using different types of profile assumptions, and we also found how to use or how to discretize the source term and the unsteady term. Okay, the source term and unsteady terms are not difficult to discretize. So in this chapter we have started discussing about how to discretize the convective term, and to do this, so ultimate aim is to obtain an equation which is of this form: AP phi p is equal to summation over all the neighboring cells ANB phi NB plus whatever additional source terms are there in the term B. Okay, so ultimately we want to derive the equation which is of the same form as our diffusive problem. So we will be able to use our same solution algorithms like TDMA or other solution algorithms for solving the equations. The only change that is going to happen due to convection is that the coefficients AP and ANB, all the coefficients and the term B are going to change. Okay, but the equation will be of similar pattern. So this was our aim, and to do this we started with a very basic problem where we had a 1D convection diffusion equation: d dx of rho u phi is equal to d dx of gamma d phi dx. Okay, for this moment we have ignored the source term and the unsteady term because the treatment of those two terms are similar to what we have already discussed previously. Nothing new can be, no new insight can be gained from there. So we will restrict ourselves for this moment to the two terms which are important, which are the convective term and the diffusive term. And we cannot consider the convective term alone, so they are always coupled together. The diffusion is always present, so we have to consider them together. Okay, and we have started with an intuitive scheme. Okay, we will go through different schemes, 4-5 schemes for deriving the discretized form of this d dx of rho u phi. Okay, so the first scheme that we have started with is known as central difference scheme, and it is just based on intuition. Okay, based on common sense. And what we have seen that if we have a domain like this, again let me just revise this. We are already familiar with this multiple times at this point. Okay, but let us revise again so that it is better ingrained in our memory. So we have a domain like this where the control volume goes from small w to small e. Okay, remember that my voice may lag or the screen may lag a little bit because of poor internet connection. So there may be some discrepancy between the voice and what you are seeing on the screen. They may not be on in sync. Okay, so you have to bear with that. So anyway, so we have a domain like this where the control volume, a typical control volume, goes from small w to small e and is represented by the grid point P, and its neighboring grid points are capital E and capital W. Okay, and the size of the control volume is delta x. The distance between the adjacent grid points is delta xc and delta xw. For this, we had discretized in the previous class the continuity equation first. So going from west to east, so integrating over the control volume, as we know we have to do in finite volume method. So by integrating over the control volume, we found that rho u E is equal to rho u west. Okay, by defining rho u as advective strength F, okay, we can write this as Fe equal to Fw, or the advective strength along the east interface is equal to the advective strength at the west interface, which is based on common sense also, because there is no source term mass source term. So whatever is the mass flow rate from the left hand side will be the mass flow rate on the right hand side. So that is what we can obtain mathematically also. Okay. So next we had discretized the convection diffusion equation, which was d dx of rho u phi is equal to d dx of gamma d phi dx. So the right hand side we already know how to discretize. Going from west to east, d dx of gamma d phi dx is gamma d phi dx at east. Let me just reduce this size and keep the diagram open in the other screen. Okay, we'll keep this diagram open. So gamma d phi dx at east minus gamma d phi dx at west. Okay, so which can be written as gamma at east into d phi dx east minus gamma west d phi dx west. And by assuming linear variation between the grid points, we can write the diffusion terms as gamma e by delta xc into phi capital E minus phi capital P minus gamma w by delta xw phi capital P minus phi capital W. Just linear interpolation. Okay. So this we have discussed before the midsem also for the diffusive terms. So the new thing was the convective term, and by integrating the convective term from over the control volume from west to east, we found that it can be written as rho u phi at east minus rho u phi at west. Okay, or rho u at east into phi at east interface minus rho u at west phi at west interface. So rho u at each interface we know it can be written as Fe. Okay, so Fe phi E minus Fw phi W. So this was our left hand side, the convective term. Okay. Now at this point we have to assume that what is the value of how the value of Fe phi what is the value of Fe phi at the interfaces. Okay, and what is the value of Fw phi W at this west interface. So as the most simplest assumption, we assume that phi at the interface can be linearly interpolated for the convective term also. Okay. So if we linearly interpolate for the convective term, phi at the east interface can be written as phi capital E plus phi capital P by 2 if the east interface is midway between capital P and W E. Okay. Please let me know if you don't understand anything. Okay, this is just revision of the previous class. I am doing the revision because we will continue from this point in today's class. Okay. So some continuity is required. So we had written phi small e as phi capital E plus phi capital P by 2. Similarly, phi W can be written as phi P plus phi capital W by 2. Okay. And in this form, if you substitute in the equation, you will get the equation in terms of phi capital E, phi capital W and phi capital P. Okay. Then by rearranging the terms, we will have the same form of the equation. AP phi P is equal to AE phi plus AW phi W, where AE is DE minus FE by 2. FE by 2 we already know. DE, what is D? D is known as diffusion strength, which is gamma by delta X. Okay. So here we had the term gamma E by delta XC, so we can write this as D. Similarly, gamma W by delta XW, this we can write as DW. Okay. So A is DE minus FE by 2 and AW is DW plus FW by 2, and AP is equal to AE plus AW plus Fe minus Fw, and by continuity equation Fe minus Fw is 0. So AP is equal to AE plus AW. This is what we had obtained in the previous class for, and this is known as the central difference scheme. Okay, based on the linear interpolation. So we had seen a couple of problems, one with low convective strength, low advective strength, where the central difference scheme worked perfectly, and one with high advective strength, where we got unphysical result. Okay, the phi p value was beyond the bounds, so beyond the bound of phi w and phi e, it was beyond the bounds, which is not physically realistic. And we have noted when this will occur. Okay, this will occur when any of these coefficients d minus fe by 2 or dw plus fw by 2 becomes negative, and this will occur, this can become negative when the mod of the advective strength is greater than 2d. Okay, then the problem will arise. So if the mod of f is less than 2d, then the central difference scheme will work properly. Okay, so it means that for problems where the advective strength is low, means flow rate is low as compared to diffusion, then the central difference scheme is very good. Okay. Otherwise, if the flow rate becomes higher and the diffusivity is small, then the central difference scheme fails. Okay, it is not a good scheme. This can be defined more mathematically in terms of a non-dimensional number which is known as Peclet number P. Peclet number is the ratio of the advective strength by the diffusive strength, which can be written as F by D. Okay, it's a non-dimensional number. So if Peclet number, mod of Peclet number is less than 2, then the central difference scheme will work correctly. Okay. So if the Peclet number is less than -2, say Peclet number is -5, Peclet number can be negative. If it is -5, means flow is very large in the negative x direction, then the central difference scheme will not work. If Peclet number is very large positive value, say P is equal to 10, it means that flow is very large in the positive x direction. Then also this scheme is not going to work. Okay. But if the P is between -2 and 2, then central difference scheme is going to work. Okay. So central difference scheme works well if P is between -2 and 2. There was another problem which we found, which occurs when the diffusivity tends to 0. Okay. So in that case, AP becomes equal to 0. So phi P, which is written as AE phi E plus AW phi W by AP, becomes undefined. Okay. So this is also an issue, and this is also the same problem basically. So diffusion tends to 0 means convection is very large as compared to diffusion, or Peclet number is very large. Diffusion tends to 0 means Peclet number tends to infinity. So again the same thing, the central difference scheme does not work. Okay. So up to this point we have discussed in the previous class. So now we will continue from here. Okay. Any questions? Did we start the recording? We have started, right? Yes. Questions? Otherwise, let us continue. Okay. So to overcome these difficulties, we will try to devise another simple scheme. Okay. We found that central difference scheme is not working for all cases. So let us try to devise another simple scheme. So what was the main reason the central difference scheme did not work? Okay. So the main reason it did not work was that we were taking this Fe phi E. In this Fe phi term, we were taking this phi E as an average of phi capital E and phi capital P. Okay, so we were taking phi E as phi capital E plus phi capital P divided by 2. So I hope you can see this. So at this point, at the interface, I am pointing my cursor at the interface small e. Okay, we were taking the value of phi as phi capital E, so value at this point plus value at this point by 2. This is not very realistic if you have very high flow rate. Okay, say there is a very high flow velocity from the left to the right. Okay, and it is bringing some high temperature fluid. So obviously, if the temperature at grid point P is larger and say E is small, because of the high velocity fluid, the upstream side, the side from where the flow is coming, will affect the interface much more as compared to the downstream side. Downstream side is the same side towards which the flow is going. Okay, so information cannot travel back towards the interface from the downstream side because of the large velocity. It can travel back due to diffusion, but if the velocity is very large, the diffusion is minor, and the effect is mainly felt because of the whatever is happening on the side from which the flow is coming. Okay, if there is high temperature here, you will also go to high temperature. If there is low temperature here, you will also go to low temperature. Okay, so the upstream side should have more influence as compared to the downstream side. But we had taken equal influence of the upstream and downstream side in our central difference scheme, and that was causing a problem. However, when the velocity was very small, the downstream side can also have strong influence because of diffusion. So when the velocity was very small or velocity was 0, then the central difference scheme works very well because downstream side also has a lot of influence, and that is reflected in this scheme. Okay. So now we will see what can be done if the velocity is large. So we should ignore the effect of the downstream side. Okay, we should take the effect of the upstream side if the velocity is large. Okay. So that is what is outlined here. I will just read this again to summarize. The main drawback of the central difference scheme was due to the use of linear profile assumption for the advective term, where we defined Fe phi E as Fe phi capital E plus phi capital P by 2. Can you still hear me? I am hearing pin drop silence. I don't know also whether you guys are there or not.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in case of convection, the value of the interface should be more strongly influenced by the upstream value. Okay, this is what we have already discussed. I am just summarizing this. So upstream value means the direction from which the flow is coming. Okay. So this is our basis for the next scheme, which is known as upwind scheme. Okay, where we will always consider the influence of the upstream side. How to do that? Let us see. So again, we have the same discretized domain. We have a grid point P, and the corresponding control volume is from small w to small e, having a length of delta x. Adjacent grid points are capital E and capital W, and the distance between the adjacent grid points is delta xc and delta xw. Okay. So for upwind scheme, we define this phi e, okay, phi small e as. So I will keep this central defined scheme one open here. Okay. So in central defined scheme, it was phi capital E plus phi capital P by 2. Here, instead of this, if the flow velocity is positive, if Fe is greater than 0, Fe, remember what is Fe? It is rho ue, okay, rho u at the east interface. If the value of rho u here is greater than 0, it means that if u is greater than 0 here, the velocity is in the positive x direction. Then the upstream side is the P side, okay. If the velocity goes from P to E, the upstream side is the P side. So we will take phi small e as phi capital P. So whatever is the value of the upstream side, same value we are going to take at the interface also, assuming that the interface is strongly influenced by the direction from which the flow is coming. Okay. On the other hand, if the flow is negative, if Fe is negative, which means that rho ue is negative or u is negative, so the flow occurs from E to P, okay, in the negative x direction. So from E to P, then the upstream side is capital E, okay. So flow is coming from the capital E side. So then phi E should be equal to phi capital E, means the value at the east interface should be strongly influenced by the value from where the flow is coming, so which is phi capital E. Okay. So to summarize, for upwind scheme, phi is equal to phi p if Fe is greater than 0, and phi is equal to phi capital E if Fe is less than 0. Okay. This can be written in one line as Fe phi E is equal to phi p max of F e comma 0 minus phi max of minus Fe comma 0. Okay, let us look at this line again in more detail. Fe phi E. Okay, so we have to ultimately define Fe phi E. Remember, we have to define Fe phi E, and instead of using central difference, we will define it using this method: phi p max Fe comma 0 minus phi max F minus Fe comma 0. Instead of using this, Fe is equal to Fe phi is equal to Fe phi E plus phi p by 2. We will use this expression. What is the meaning of this expression? If Fe is greater than 0, max of Fe comma 0 is maximum value of Fe and 0 is Fe. Okay, maximum value between Fe and 0 is Fe. So phi p into Fe, okay, minus phi into maximum value of minus Fe. If Fe is greater than 0, minus Fe is less than 0. So maximum value between minus Fe and 0 is 0. So phi into 0, okay, which means that this term goes to 0. So we are only left with phi p into Fe, okay. So Fe phi is equal to Fe into phi p, which means that phi is equal to phi p, okay, which we have already discussed. On the other hand, if Fe is negative, maximum of Fe and 0, so Fe is negative, so Fe is less than 0, so maximum of Fe and 0 is 0. So phi p into 0, so this term goes to 0, minus phi e, maximum of minus Fe 0. So because Fe is negative, minus Fe is positive. So minus Fe, between minus Fe and 0, minus Fe has a larger value, okay. So maximum of minus Fe 0 is minus Fe. So minus phi e into minus Fe, which becomes plus phi e Fe. Okay. So Fe phi e is equal to Fe phi capital E, which means that phi small e is equal to phi capital E. Okay. So it's the same thing which we have written in two lines in the above, can be written in a single line like this in using the max function, maximum function. Okay. So like this, we have to replace Fe phi in this expression. So up to this point, the central defined scheme and the upwind scheme is similar. Okay, up to this point, the central difference scheme and the upwind scheme is similar. After that, while writing Fe phi, we have to use this expression. Okay. Similarly, for the other term, Fw phi W, again, if the flow comes from the W direction, we will have this term as positive and this term will be 0 if the flow comes from the W direction. So if Fw is positive, Fw phi W is equal to phi W maximum of Fw comma 0 minus phi P maximum of minus Fw comma 0. So instead of P, we are taking W because flow is coming from this direction. Okay. Similarly, if the flow is negative, phi small w should be equal to phi P. Okay. So which is reflected here. Fw phi W is equal to, so this term will become 0 in that case if Fw is negative, and we will have this term. Okay. Minus phi P into minus Fw. So it will become phi W, sorry, phi P Fw. Okay. So phi small w will become equal to phi capital P. It is the same thing as Fe phi. You just have to think about it and we'll see that is the same thing. Okay. So this is our upwind scheme. So once you replace this in the expression, so d dx of rho u phi is equal to d dx of gamma d phi dx. So using the same method like the previous case, going from west to east. So I will keep the diagram open here. Going from west to east, d dx of rho u phi dx is equal to, going from west to east, d dx of gamma d phi dx. So rho u phi east minus rho u phi west is equal to gamma d phi dx east minus gamma d phi dx west. Or Fe phi is minus Fw phi W is equal to gamma by delta xc f phi minus phi p minus gamma W by delta xw phi p minus phi W. So up to this point, it is the same as central difference scheme. Even the next line also is same. So Fe phi minus Fw phi W is equal to d phi minus phi p minus dw phi p minus phi W. So at this point, we make a distinction. We replace Fe phi using this expression as we have derived, and Fw phi W also using the similar type of expression. Okay, using the max function. So if you replace those, you will have ultimately an equation in terms of phi capital E, phi capital W, and phi capital P. If you rearrange the terms, you can write again AP phi P is equal to AE phi plus AW phi W. Okay, so same expression. Only thing which are going to change are the values of AP, AE, and AW. The form of the equation remains same. Only the values are going to change. Okay. So what will be the values? You can do it on your own later on. You can rewrite these expressions and rearrange them, and you will find that A is equal to D plus max of minus F is n comma 0. Okay. D comes from here, and this max of minus F is 0 comes from this coefficient. Okay. From this coefficient phi. Similarly, AW is equal to DW plus max of FW comma 0. Again, it can be obtained easily. DW comes from here, and this max of Fw comma 0 comes from this expression. Okay. And AP will be D plus DW. So you have to accumulate all the terms of AP together. And once you do that, you will see that it is equal to D plus DW plus max of Fe comma 0 plus max of minus Fw comma 0. Okay. We can rewrite this in a different form. We can rewrite this as AP is equal to D plus DW plus this term max of Fe comma 0. Just a second. Hold on for a second. Some important messages. All right. So we can rewrite this max of Fe minus 0 as max of 0 minus Fe. Okay, 0 comma minus Fe plus Fe. So basically this is the same thing. Okay, if you add Fe to this, you will get maximum of Fe comma 0. Okay, so we have taken out one Fe from this term. Okay, so we can rewrite this as maximum of 0 comma minus Fe plus Fe outside. Okay, there is a reason for writing this. Similarly, we can rewrite this maximum of minus Fw 0 as, if you add one Fw here, it will become maximum of 0 and Fw, and let us subtract that Fw. So by adding one Fw inside this maximum and subtracting it outside, you will obtain maximum of 0 comma fw minus fw. Okay, by rewriting this, we find that this fe minus fw anyway is equal to 0 by continuity equation. Okay, so ultimately this term ap becomes equal to de plus maximum of 0 comma minus fe, which is nothing but ae, and dw plus maximum of 0 fw, which is nothing but aw. Okay, so by rearranging these terms and rewriting it in this way, we find that ap is equal to ae plus aw. Okay. So this is our upwind scheme. This is known as upwind scheme, where you take the value at the interface to be strongly influenced by the upstream direction. So the first thing that we will notice here is that there are no negative coefficients. Okay, there cannot be any negative coefficients, because see, always there is a term which is maximum of some term and 0. If fe is positive, minus fe will be negative, but 0 is there, so it has to be 0. And d is going to be positive, so the a term is going to be positive. If fe is negative, minus fe comma 0 is the maximum of that is going to be minus fe, which is positive. So anyway, this term is positive and d is positive, so a is positive. In a similar way, maximum of fw and 0 is always going to be either 0 or positive. It cannot be negative. Okay, so this aw is always going to be positive, and because ap is equal to ae plus aw, ap is also going to be positive. So all the coefficients are positive, so which satisfies our criteria which we had previously discussed. And the scheme is more robust, as we will see later, and can be used for various Peclet number, large value of Peclet number. But the scheme is not very accurate when the Peclet number is small. So when the central difference scheme works well, means between Peclet number of -2 and 2, then this scheme does not work very well. Why? Because we are assuming that convection plays a very dominant role. The flow is very strong, but with very small flow rate at low Peclet number, for very small flow rate, there will be also influence of significant influence of E. Okay, so that's why if we just take the influence of P, it is not very accurate. Okay, we will also see later that it overestimates the effect of diffusion. It will be clear later on what it means. Okay, at this moment, let me just state that it overestimates the effect of diffusion. We will come back to this line later on when we go to other schemes where we see that the schemes are more accurate as compared to this. Okay. Questions? No questions. So let us take the same example as before. Okay, the example that we had taken for central difference scheme, which did not work out, means because the flow velocity was large, the central difference scheme gave unphysical results. Okay, we'll take the same example. So phi at west is 1, phi at each grid point is 2, diffusion coefficient dE is equal to 1, dW is equal to 1. So at the interfaces, diffusion coefficient is given to us. Remember that we can always calculate diffusion coefficient based on diffusivity gamma and the geometrical parameter delta x. Okay, so dE is equal to gamma E by delta xc and dW is equal to gamma W by delta xw. And how will you find the values of gamma at east and west? By using harmonic mean, as we have studied earlier. Okay. Also, Fe is given as 5 and Fw, Fe has to be equal to Fw, so Fe is equal to Fw is equal to 5. What is Fe? Again, if you know the velocity, Fe is known because it is equal to rho u at the east interface and Fw is equal to rho u at the west interface. How will you know the rho value at east and west interface? By interpolation based on the grid point values. Okay, you can just do linear interpolation. So using the upwind scheme now, let us open the upwind scheme is open here itself. Okay, or no, let us keep this open. AE is equal to DE plus max of minus FE comma 0. Okay, for the upwind scheme. So for the upwind scheme, AP 5P is equal to AE 5 plus AW 5W, where AP has AE is equal to DE plus max of minus FE comma 0. AW is equal to DW plus max of FW comma 0, and AP is equal to AE plus AW. Okay, let us derive these values. So A is equal to DE plus max of minus FE comma 0. D is given as 1, max of minus FE, so maximum of minus 5 comma 0 is 0. So 1 plus 0 which is equal to 1. AW is equal to DW plus max of FW comma 0. Okay. So because FW is 5, maximum of 5 comma 0 is 5. So AW is equal to 1 plus 5 which is equal to 6. And AP is equal to AE plus AW, so 1 plus 6 is equal to 7. Okay. So now we can write this equation as AP 5P is equal to AE 5 plus AW 5W. So AE is 1. So 1 into 2. Remember 5 is 2. Okay, 1 into 2 plus 6 into 1. Okay, AW 5W, 5W is 1. Divided by 7, which is equal to 8 by 7. Okay, so final value of 5P is 8 by 7. At this point, it is equal to 8 by 7. Okay, so let us get couple of insights from this result. One is that this value of 5P is between the value of 5W and 5E. Okay, the value at 5W was 1 and the value at 5E was 2, and we have obtained the value to be in between these two values. Okay, so this is physically realistic because it has to be between these values if there are no source terms. Second thing to observe here is that the value of 5P is very near to the value of 5W. Okay, the value at 5W is 1, the value at 5 east is 2, and the value of 5P is 8 by 7, which is very near to 1, not very near to 2, it is very near to 1. This is understandable because the flow is coming from the west to east, okay, because flow velocity is positive, flow is coming along the positive x direction, so flow is coming from west to east. As a result, the influence of this west grid point should be much more as compared to the influence of the east grid point, and that is what we are seeing in our result, that the value is much near to the west grid point as compared to the east grid point. If the flow velocity was negative, we would have seen that 5P is very near to the east grid point value. Okay, so here the 5P is very near to the west grid point value because the flow is from the left to the right. Okay, so this is summarized here. This is physically realistic as value of 5P is between 5E and 5W. And the second point which we have just discussed now is that value of 5P gets influenced more by the upstream side, which is in this case is 5W. Okay, because the flow is positive along the x direction. Any questions? Is this clear to everyone or not clear? You have to read again to understand it better. But for now, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If there are any questions, you are free to ask anytime. Okay, there should be a proper discussion. This time the batch is very silent. You guys are not asking any questions. All of you are thinking that other student will ask questions, but ultimately no one is asking questions. So anyway, so sometimes what happens is that I may miss some points, and if you ask questions, then I may remember or I may go through those points, and you can learn something new in those cases. But I am trying to give as much insight as possible. Although we are going in a mathematical fashion, so we are trying to derive as much insight or look into the physics also as much as possible. Okay. So now we have studied two schemes. One is the central difference and one is the upwind scheme. Okay. So next what we are going to do, before going into any more schemes, okay, we will try to understand what actually is the variation in for the simple problem, for the simple 1D problem, what is the actual variation in the value of phi between two grid points. Okay, in one case what we have assumed that it linearly varies like this. Okay, let me my writing pad. So what we have assumed, I hope you can see the, can you see the writing pad?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is P, this is E, and this is W. Okay. And this is our west interface, small w, and this is our east interface, small e. Okay. So till now, what we have assumed, in one case, the central difference scheme. So ultimately, we are trying to find the value at this east interface. Okay, value at the east interface of phi. Okay, we know these values. We know phi p, or means we don't know this, but we will write in terms of these values because phi is stored at the grid points. So if we can write in terms of the grid point value, we are fine. So which value we need to write in terms of grid point value? Phi small e and phi small w. Okay. So in one case, what we have assumed is, so say this is phi p. Okay. Diagram may not be very accurate, but you will understand. And this is phi capital E. Okay. So we have assumed that there is a linear variation. This was for the central difference scheme. And accordingly, at the interface, we have assumed that the phi small e is equal to phi capital E plus phi capital P by 2. Okay, because of this linear variation. The other thing which we are like for the upwind scheme, what did we assume? If the flow is from this direction, okay, we assume that the value is like this, and then suddenly jumps to phi e. Okay, this is the variation that we assume. So if the flow is from this direction, the value at this interface is equal to phi p. So phi small e is equal to phi p. That is what we assume for the upwind scheme. On the other end, if the flow is from the other direction, okay, if the flow is from this direction, we assume that it looks like this. Let me just use another color. So because the flow is from this direction, this entire variation is equal to phi if the flow comes from this direction. Okay. And then there is a sudden drop to phi p. Okay. So that in that case, the interface value phi small e is equal to phi capital E. Up to this point, is it clear? Inherently, we had assumed these two things. For the central difference scheme, we have assumed the green line, and for the upwind scheme, we have assumed the black or the red line, depending on the flow direction. Okay. So now we want to actually see whether we can predict what is the actual variation between phi p and phi for the simple 1D case. It may not be possible for more complicated cases, but at least for the simple 1D case, can we see what is the actual variation, whether it is more step-like or more linear, or it is quadratic, or what is the variation? Is it logarithmic or exponential or polynomial? Okay, can we predict that? That is our aim. Why? Because it will give us insight into what type of scheme we can devise which will be more accurate instead of arbitrarily devising schemes. Okay. So once we know that, say the variation is like this, okay, say it is exponential variation, we don't know yet. Okay, say this is exponential variation. Then we will try to fit an exponential curve between these 2 points, phi p and phi e, and based on the exponential curve, we will find the interface value. Okay. If the variation is logarithmic, we will try to fit a logarithmic curve, and then based on the logarithmic curve, we will find the interface value. If the variation is polynomial, so we will try to fit a polynomial curve between phi p and phi e, and then based on that polynomial, we will try to find the interface value. So we want to see what is the variation, okay, instead of blindly trying to guess the variation. Okay, although these schemes will work, upwind scheme and central difference will work, they will be more accurate if the grid size is small. If the different distance between P and E is small, they will be quite accurate. Once you keep on increasing the distance, they will become less and less accurate. Okay. So before going into the next part, I have one question here. Okay. So say we find that the Peclet number is greater than 2. Okay, and our central difference scheme does not work. But we want to use the central difference scheme only. Okay. Is it possible to use it if the Peclet number is greater than 2? Central difference scheme is not working. Can we modify something so that the central difference scheme will work? Can anyone answer? Remember what is Peclet number? P is equal to F by D. Okay. Or at the east interface, P is equal to Fe by DE. Okay. Where Fe is equal to rho UE and D is equal to gamma E by delta XC. Okay. This is delta XC. This is delta XW. Any answers?
So if we decrease delta XC.
If we decrease the
Delta XC.
correct, good. We can decrease, we can remesh the geometry and we can reduce the grid spacing. We can have more number of grid points, okay, or more number of control volumes. In that case, delta XC will become reduced and the diffusion strength will increase. Okay, so because the grid points are coming near to each other, they are getting more influenced by diffusion in a physical sense. So if we want, we can reduce the delta XC such that DE becomes higher, and we can keep on reducing such that D becomes so high that Peclet number. So if D is higher, Peclet number will reduce. So Peclet number can be reduced back to less than 2. Okay. So that is also one way. By grid refinement, we can use the central difference scheme. So central difference scheme works very well when you have a very fine grid. Okay. So that is one way to do it. So just this question came to my mind. That's why I asked. So similar way, you can derive other insights also from different schemes, which can be useful in the long run. So anyway, let us come back to our discussion. So we were trying to understand what can be the variation between two grid points for the simple problem of 1D convection diffusion. For complex problem, we cannot find unless we use numerical approximation. But for the simple problem, maybe it is possible to derive an analytical solution. Let us see whether it is possible or not. Okay. So this is also a new file which has been uploaded in the portal. Okay, you can go through it. So we are trying to derive an exact solution. What do we mean by exact solution? Exact solution means analytical solution. Means by integrating itself without taking any numerical assumption. Directly by integrating, we want to find out the final solution. Okay, differentiating or integrating. Like by analytical method, we want to find out the solution. Okay, for the 1D convection diffusion problem. What was the 1D convection diffusion problem? Let me keep it open in this side. This, okay. So ddx of rho u phi is equal to ddx of gamma d phi dx. So for this problem, without any source term and without unsteady term, is there any analytical solution possible? That is what we are trying to find. And actually it is possible. And we will be able to derive that analytical solution. So that is what we are going to do next. Okay. So analytical solution can be obtained for 1D convection diffusion problem without unsteady and source terms. Okay. Although this cannot be derived for 2D or 3D or complex geometries like where complicated source terms are there, but it gives us sufficient insight into the nature of variation of parameter phi so that we can use the same assumptions even for 2D and 3D cases. Okay, similar type of profile assumptions based on the insight that we will derive from this 1D analytical solution. Okay, so that's why this 1D analytical solution is very important. It will give us an idea whether the variation is polynomial or exponential or logarithmic or like a straight line. So what is the type, or is it a step function? What is the type of variation? That insight we will gain from this analytical solution. Okay, so that's why it is very useful. So it gives physical insight about the nature of variation of any parameter phi within a control volume. And I am summarizing what I have just told you. So these are just written there because we will be going through the note extensively. So that the note is sufficient for you, I have written these points. Although not directly applicable to more complex problems, indirectly we can understand the nature of variation of phi for complex cases also. Okay, by solving this 1D analytical problem. Okay, so I will take a break here, and after the break we will solve this problem. 1D analytical. We'll try to find the 1D analytical solution for this problem. Okay, where okay I will define it after the break. Okay, let me take a short break here. So all right, we will continue. Can you hear me still? Can somebody confirm?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Let us continue. Okay. So I will keep this diagram open and equation open on this side. So what we are going to do is, so if you just now we have discussed, we want to find the variation between two adjacent grid points, say phi p and phi e, or phi w and phi p. Okay. What is the variation? So we'll take this as a simple problem, as if the domain goes from this point to, like, the p point to e point. Okay. So x is equal to 0 at p and x is equal to some distance L at capital E. Okay. So we are trying to find this variation based on boundary condition that phi is given at this point p and phi is given at this point capital E. So we want to find out within the domain from p to e what is the variation. Okay. This is our task. So we will consider a domain going from x equal to 0 to x equal to L. Boundary conditions are given as phi is equal to phi 0, some value phi 0, okay, at x equal to 0, and at x equal to L, phi is equal to phi L. Okay. So this phi varies in the control volume from phi is equal to phi 0 at x equal to 0 to phi is equal to phi L at x equal to L. We don't know what is the variation. That is what we are trying to find out. How it varies from phi 0 to phi L. Okay. So now the governing equation we have already seen for the 1D one-dimensional convection diffusion problem without source term and without unsteady term. It can be written as d dx of rho u phi is equal to d dx of gamma d phi dx. Okay. So let us try to non-dimensionalize this equation first, because it is better to, or it is, we can get more insight while while solving the non-dimensional equation. Okay, in non-dimensional form. Let us try to non-dimensionalize this equation. So phi star is equal to, we will take this non-dimensional parameter, we will define a non-dimensional parameter phi star, which is equal to phi minus phi 0 by phi L minus phi 0. Okay. So it is the value at any point minus the value at the initial point divided by the difference in values at the two boundaries. So phi minus phi 0 by phi L minus phi 0. This is a very standard practice of non-dimensionalization. And x star we will define as non-dimensionalized in the form of x by L, okay, where L is the length of the domain. So again, very standard form of non-dimensionalization. Okay, let us look at the non-dimensional values at the two boundaries. So x star is equal to 0 at x equal to 0 and x star equal to 1 at this boundary, right hand side boundary. Okay, and at x star equal to 0, phi star is equal to, so phi star is equal to phi 0 minus phi 0. So by phi L minus phi 0, so it is equal to 0. So phi star is equal to 0 at x star equal to 0, and at x star equal to 1, means at x equal to L, phi star is equal to phi L minus phi 0 by phi L minus phi 0, which is equal to 1. Okay. So the non-dimensional boundary conditions are phi star equal to 0 at x star equal to 0 and phi star equal to 1 at x star equal to 1. And our domain goes from 0 to 1. Okay, non-dimensional domain goes from 0 to 1. And on one side of the domain the value is 0, and on the other side of the domain the value is 1. We want to find out the variation between this 0 and 1. Okay. So now let us non-dimensionalize or write the two terms, the advective term and the diffusive term, in terms of the non-dimensional parameters. Okay. So again, it looks cumbersome here because I am just showing you the written part. If it was on board, I could have derived, but it's not very difficult. It's just rearranging the terms. Okay. So let me explain. So d dx of rho u phi. So d dx we can write as x is nothing but x star into L. Okay, x is nothing but x star into L. So d of x we can write as d of x star into L. Okay. Similarly, rho u we can write as rho u. Okay. This phi we can write it as phi. What will be phi? Phi will be equal to phi star into phi L minus phi 0 plus phi 0. Okay. Phi star into phi L minus phi 0 plus an additional phi 0. So this we are going to replace here. Instead of phi, we will write it as phi star into phi L minus phi 0 plus phi 0. Okay. So this is our expression. So d dx of rho u phi. So assuming that rho u is constant due to continuity equation, we can take out rho u. Phi L minus phi 0 anyway is constant. So rho u phi L minus phi 0 by capital L. Okay. So what we are left with? We are left with derivative of phi star. Derivative of phi 0 is 0 because phi 0 is constant. So derivative of phi star with respect to x star. Okay. D phi star dx star. So d dx of rho u phi can be written as rho u phi L minus phi 0 by L d phi star dx star. Okay. Similar type of derivation now we are going to do for the diffusion term. D dx of gamma d phi dx. D dx, so again x we can write as x star into L. Okay. And this x also we will write as x star into L. And this phi we will write as phi star, like same thing, phi star phi L minus phi 0 plus phi 0. So derivative of phi 0 is anyway going to be 0, so phi 0 gets cancelled. So what we will be left with is, so this gamma comes out, if we assume that gamma is constant, gamma comes out, and L square comes out. So 1L from this and 1L from the other denominator. So L square comes out, and phi L minus phi 0 comes out of the derivative because phi L minus phi 0 is constant. So we can write d dx of gamma d phi dx as gamma phi L minus phi 0 by L square into d square phi star dx star square. Okay. D square phi star dx star square is the non-dimensional term. This is dimensional. This is also, in this case also, this is dimensional, and d phi star dx star is non-dimensional. So now the 1D convection diffusion equation can be written as, so now replace these values in the dimensional value. Okay. So d dx of rho u phi can be written as rho u phi L minus phi 0 by L. So rho u phi L minus phi 0 by L d phi star dx star. And on the right hand side, d dx of gamma d phi dx, this can be written as gamma phi L minus phi 0 by L square into d square phi star dx star square. Okay. So phi L minus phi 0 gets cancelled from both sides, 1L gets cancelled from both sides. Okay. So we are left with rho u, this L goes to the other side, rho u L by gamma. Okay, rho u L by gamma d phi star dx star equal to d square phi star dx star square. Okay. What is rho u L by gamma? Rho u L by gamma can be written as rho u by gamma by L. Okay, and rho u is nothing but the advective strength F, and gamma by L. So gamma by L, diffusivity by the distance is nothing but the diffusion strength D. Okay. So advective strength by diffusive strength is Peclet number P. Okay, which is non-dimensional number. So this can be written now as P into d phi star dx star equal to d square phi star dx star square. Okay, this is our non-dimensional form of the convection diffusion equation. All the terms are non-dimensional. Peclet number P is non-dimensional, phi star is non-dimensional, x star is non-dimensional. Okay, so you have non-dimensionalized the equation successfully. Any questions up to this point? P d phi star dx star equal to d square phi star dx star square. Okay, this is our equation. What are the boundary conditions for this equation? How many boundary conditions do we need to solve this equation? Two boundary conditions. And what are those? It is written here. We have already derived this here. Okay, same thing is written here. Phi star is equal to 0 at x star equal to 0, and phi star is equal to 1 at x star equal to 1. Okay, so because it's a second order equation, we need two boundary conditions, and these are the two boundary conditions which we will be using for solving this equation. So let us try to solve this equation now. Once the equation has been non-dimensionalized, now we'll try to solve this equation. Okay. P d phi star dx star equal to d square phi star dx star square. Okay. Rearranging these terms, we can write this. So we will take this P d phi star dx star to the other side. Okay. So it will become d square phi star dx star square minus P d phi star dx star. So taking this d dx star common, we can write this as d dx star within bracket d phi star dx star minus P phi star. Okay. So by rearranging the term and taking one of the derivative as common, we can rearrange this as d dx star of d phi star dx star minus P phi star equal to 0. Okay. Now we will integrate this, and by integrating this, we get that d phi star dx star minus p phi star is equal to some constant c1. Okay, let this be some constant c1. Okay, because it was 0, so by integrating we get a constant c1. Or d phi star dx star is equal to c1 plus p phi star. Okay, by rearranging the term, or again by rearranging the term d phi star by c1 plus p phi star, by taking it to the bottom and taking the dx star to the other side, we get this form of the equation. Okay. So now we can write this d phi star as 1 by p into d of p phi star. Okay, by taking 1 by p common, by taking out 1 by p and multiplying the inside by p, we get 1 by p d of p phi star. Okay, d of p phi star is equal to also d of some constant plus p phi star, because derivative of constant is anyway 0. So we can write that as d of c1 plus p phi star. Okay, so 1 by p derivative of c1 plus p phi star divided by c1 plus p phi star is equal to integral of dx star. I hope this is very clear. This is just class 2 algebra. Okay, class 12 algebra or class 11 algebra integration. So 1 by p d of c1 by p phi star divided by c1 by p phi star is equal to integral of dx star. By integrating, we obtain 1 by p log of c1 plus p phi star is equal to x star plus some constant. Okay, let that constant be log of c2. Okay, where c2 is a constant. We are writing it in a different form. We are writing the constant as, say it is c2 dash. So c2 dash is nothing but log of c2. Okay, so c2 is such that the constant is log of c2. We have a reason for writing this because it is easier to derive the final form in this way. Okay, so 1 by p is log of c1 plus p phi star is equal to, now 1 by p log of c1 plus p phi star is equal to x star plus log of c2. Okay, so we have two constants c1 and c2, which we have to obtain using the boundary conditions. Okay, let us simplify this further first, then we will use the boundary conditions. So log of c1 plus p phi star, okay, by taking p to the other direction, we can write this as log of c1 plus p phi star is equal to px star plus p into log of c2. Okay, p into ln c2. So we can define another constant c3 such that log of c3 is equal to p into log of c2, because anyway c2 was constant. We can define another constant c3 such that log of c3 is equal to p into log of c2. Okay, so by defining this, we can write this expression as ln c1 plus p phi star is equal to px star plus ln c3. Okay, so now c1 and c3 are the constants which we want to find based on the two boundary conditions. Okay, let us rearrange these terms. If you take c3 to the ln c3 to the other side, it becomes ln c1 plus p phi star minus ln c3. So by taking the c3 inside the log, means because there is a minus sign, it will come to the denominator. So you can write this as log of c1 plus p phi star by c3 is equal to px star. Okay, or c1 plus p phi star c3 by removing the log. Okay, by taking exponential of both sides, we get c1 plus p phi star by c3 is equal to e to the power px star, or p phi star is equal to c3 into e to the power px star minus c1. Okay, so ultimately by rearranging the term, we have obtained this final equation of phi star as p phi star is equal to c3 into e to the power px star minus c1. Okay, so phi star is an exponential form of x star. Okay, but we still don't know the value of the constant c3 and c1. Now it is time to use the boundary conditions. Any questions up to this point?
Sir,
So let us, yes, you are asking anything or? Somebody was asking, or just you are saying that no question? Let us continue in that case. So first boundary condition is x star at x star equal to 0, phi star equal to 0. So replace this value phi star equal to 0. So P into 0 is equal to C3 into e to the power P into 0 minus C1. E to the power 0 is 1. So this becomes 0 is equal to C3 into 1 minus C1, or 0 is equal to C3 minus C1, or C3 equal to C1. Both the constants are equal. Okay. So we can replace C3 by C1. Now we can write this as P phi star is equal to C1 e to the power. So this, by writing this as C1, we can take C1 as common. So C1 into e to the power Px star minus 1. Okay. This is the simplified form of the equation. Now let us use the second boundary condition. At x star equal to 1, phi star equal to 1. Okay. So if x star at x star equal to 1, phi star equal to 1, replace this in this equation. Okay. P into 1 is equal to C1 e to the power P into 1 minus 1. Okay. So P is equal to C1 e to the power P minus 1, or C1 is equal to P by e to the power P minus 1. Okay. By rearranging the terms. So this is the value of the constant. C1 is equal to P by e to the power P minus 1. So plug in the value of the constant here. We will get P into phi star is equal to P by e to the power P minus 1 into e to the power Px star minus 1. Okay, by plugging the C1 value here. Okay, so P gets cancelled, and we are ultimately left with phi star is equal to e to the power Px star minus 1 by e to the power P minus 1. Okay. This is the final final form of phi star while using the boundary conditions. So phi star gives a exponential variation with respect to x star. Okay. So phi star, we find that it is not linear, or it is not say quadratic or any polynomial or logarithmic. It is an exponential variation for this simple problem. Okay. Exponentially varies with x star. So it starts from phi star equal to 0 at x star equal to 0 and goes to phi star equal to 1 at x star equal to 1. And the variation is given by this term. Okay, phi star is equal to e to the power Px star minus 1 by e to the power P minus 1. Look at the boundary conditions. If x star is equal to 0, this becomes equal to e to the power 0, which is 1. So 1 minus 1, 0. So phi star becomes equal to 0. So our boundary condition is satisfied. If x star is equal to 1, this becomes equal to e to the power P into 1. So e to the power P minus 1 by e to the power P minus 1. So which becomes equal to 1. So phi star becomes equal to 1. So at x star equal to 1, phi star equal to 1. So our second boundary condition is also satisfied. Okay. In dimensional form, now we can write this as phi star was what? Phi minus phi 0 by phi L minus phi 0 is equal to e to the power Px by L, because x star was x by L. E to the power Px by L minus 1 by e to the power P minus 1. Okay. This is our final form of the equation. This gives us the variation of phi. So to summarize, we get an exact solution for variation of phi within a control volume for a 1D convection diffusion problem without source and unsteady term. This is an exact solution. Okay. And what does it give us? It gives us that phi varies exponentially with x. Okay. Let us look at a few limiting cases to try to understand this variation better. We'll try to understand this variation better by trying to look at a few limiting cases, and then we will draw the plots for those cases. Okay. Any questions? No questions. Let us continue. Drink some water. First limiting case, we are going to take p tends to 0. Okay, let me keep the solution open here. This is the solution. So first variation is p tends to 0. Okay, limiting case p tends to 0. What is the value of phi star? Let us try to find out. Okay. So if p tends to 0, phi star, which is nothing but e to the power px by L minus 1 by e to the power P minus 1. Okay. At the limit p tends to 0. Okay. By taking one x by L outside, okay, we can multiply. So we can divide this we can take the numerator e to the power px by L minus 1 and divide it by px by L. Okay. So to do this, we have to take px by L outside also. Okay. So out of this px by L, let us take the x by L here, and we will keep the p for the other term. So the other denominator part we can write as limit p tends to 0, p by e to the power p minus 1. Okay, we have just broken this limit into two different limits. One limit is limit e to the power px by L minus 1 by px by L, where px by L tends to 0. The other limit is p by e to the power p minus 1, where p tends to 0. Okay. If you multiply by them together, you will be left with 1 x by L in the denominator. So that has to be balanced by this x by L in the numerator. It's just a algebraic rearrangement. Okay. Why we have kept in this form? Because limit x e to the power x minus 1 by x. What is the limit e to the power x minus 1 by x? Do you remember from your old studies? Limit, it is equal to 1. Okay, e to the power x at x tends to 0 tends to 1. So 1 minus 1 tends to 0. So e to the power x minus 1 tends to 0, numerator tends to 0, and let me write this. We get too confused otherwise. So I am talking about this. Okay. So both the numerator and denominator tends to 0 when x tends to 0, but the limit is equal to 1. It can be easily obtained by using the exponential series. Okay. So that's why we have written in this form. So now the first term will be equal to 1. This limit tends to 1. Second term also equal to 1, because this limit also tends to 1. Okay. So this is equal to phi star is equal to x by L into 1 into 1, or it is equal to x by L, which is equal to x star. So p tends at p tends to 0, phi star is equal to x star. So it's a linear variation. Okay. So when p is almost equal to 0 or equal to 0, phi star varies with x star linearly. Okay. How does it look like? It looks like this. So if I draw this somewhere, okay, say this is phi is equal to phi 0, and this is phi is equal to phi L. Okay, vertical axis is phi. This point is phi 0 and this point is equal to phi L. Okay, and this is x equal to 0 and this is x equal to L. Okay. So we have found that the variation is exponential, and we are looking at some limiting cases. When Peclet number tends to 0, we have found that phi star is equal to x star, which is nothing but given. Oh, this is horrible. Okay, so this line is phi star is equal to x star. It's a linear variation. So phi, it goes from phi 0 to phi L in a linear fashion. If Peclet number is equal to 0, this is only valid for Peclet number is equal to 0 or Peclet number tends to 0. This is understandable from physical point of view. Can anyone say what is the physical significance of this? Means what is the, why is it linearly varying at p equal to 0 based on convection and diffusion? Can you say? What is the convective strength? I want some answers. Or are you guys just watching movies on the side by keeping my class open? What is the convective strength and what is the diffusive strength here for this green line? Somebody has to respond. Otherwise, I will not go forward. You guys are there or not? Tanmay, what is the relative strength of convection and diffusion for this green line? No response. Who else is there? Snehit, are you there? Am I audible? What has happened to you guys? Everyone is silent. Vanilla, you are there? Who is here in the class? What is going on?
Yes, sir.
Why is nobody responding? If you want to attend the class, you attend it properly. Otherwise, just come at the end and give your attendance. What is the point? Is just I am going through a monologue here. If you are not focusing any of you, then there is no point in continuing this class like this. So can anyone say what is the physical significance of this, that there is linear variation between phi is equal to 0, phi 0 and phi is equal to phi L for Peclet number equal to 0? What does it mean, Peclet number equal to 0?
Sir, the advective strength will be 0.
Advective strength is 0. So it means that then what is the effect, like how the variation occurs if the advective strength is 0? It is only due to diffusion, right?
Yes, sir.
So if it is only due to diffusion, diffusion is occurs equally in all directions, right? So that's why there is linear variation, means the effect of both the sides should be similar. So that's why at a central point, at the midpoint here, if I draw the midpoint here, the effect of phi 0 and phi L will be equal, okay, because it is diffusion dominated case. Is it clear to everyone? You guys cannot even answer yes or no, huh?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Okay. So variation of phi star is linear in that case, okay. I have lost the flow completely. We'll continue this discussion tomorrow. Okay. We'll continue this discussion tomorrow. Let me take the attendance.